a horrible environment around the time when Enron was imploding and WorldCom was imploding, and this whole idea, which later imploded the rest of the economy, of credit derivatives and CDOs and all these esoteric things that had to do with horrible loans, bonds that were going to default, companies that were going to default, were really coming to the head of the company and Wall Street in general.
And I read your book that came out, what, in 2006 or so?
2004.
2004, I guess I read 2006, where you explained what was going to happen before it happened. You said, I wasn't going to be involved in this criminality.
Well, no, exactly. We were literally sitting there in offices looking at tons of loans that were going to implode, derivatives that were going to implode, and being asked to sort of find a way to make money out of that for Goldman and for the company. So it was Enron and WorldCom, whatever those companies were. And I found that incredibly untenable. It went through insurance companies, went through all sorts of...
So you weren't going to sell it to pensioners and people?
I couldn't. I had come to Goldman basically from a position where I believed, even in all the years I was in banking, that it was important to show people what the downside could be of certain types of speculation. And that was not something that Goldman really wanted to show. And I had a lot of problems internally trying to be able to show analytics and develop things and get funding to show clients and investors in general what could go wrong. Because I thought, if you have knowledge, you can make a decision. If you don't, you're in a black hole, and a fraudulent black hole.
Yeah, but then the opposite of you is some of the traders and people at Goldman and the Timberwolf stuff about, this is total crud, let's sell it to our customers.
Well, that's what exactly happened was I left, and in the next few years that followed when I left, which was in early 2002, and I wrote a book in 2004, came out in 2004, I wrote in 2003 about how all of this was going to implode, and how these wars between the banks and these trading desks were really being fought over people's loans. And that's what happened. The subprime loans, all of the regular loans in the country became fodder for these CDO deals like Timberwolf, like Abacus, like all the different names that were thrown at them that then imploded into the general economy a few years later. But at the time, the whole idea was to move this stuff off the trading books into the world. And that's what happened. And over the next few years, from when I left until basically the beginning of 2007, that's what was happening. This stuff was proliferating the world, pension funds, small towns in Norway, small towns in Holland, small towns in California, and really creating this crumbling decay of an economy. And I saw that from the outside. I wasn't inside at that point, and that's when I started writing more and more about that. And I continue to write about that because it's a dangerous situation that people need to be aware of and need to have knowledge about. Not just the implosion that already happened that we think was over in 2008. It's not over.
Well, that was my next question. I've seen the charts that there's more derivatives now than before. They're taking the so-called bailout money, too big to fail, and re-leveraging it when they know it's impossible to ever pump it up. I believe, and I've seen a lot of evidence to show, it's conscious to get everything infected with it so they can then hold everybody hostage saying, do whatever we say in the future on any issue or everything will implode. And then they become rulers of the world. It's a Ponzi scheme that's too big to fail, and so the whole world falls to it instead of them all going to jail. I mean, do you agree with what Bernie Madoff said? I think I do, and other economists I've talked to have, that when he said, look, I'm just doing what everybody else did. And if so, why did he get in trouble then?
He got in trouble because he didn't have as many political connections as some of these bigger guys who did not get in trouble. Yes, he created a Ponzi scheme. Yes, he lost a lot of people a lot of money. Yes, he lied. Yes, he kept it going for years. And yes, the SEC was told about it by various whistleblowers throughout the years. And just
for a decade, yeah.
Ignore it completely until it was too big to ignore. But he was too little a guy, as big as he was, to save himself.
That's right.
Unlike John Corzine and Jamie Dimon and Lloyd Blankfein and all these other guys who are basically at the top of either large implosions that have been obvious or smaller types of deceptions that have gone on for years. They are more politically connected to the administration, to the various, the DOJ, the SEC, all the organizations in Washington that refuse to really fight, jail, indict, convict any of the people that are really creating a larger global type of crimes against populations.
Wow. Again, you've gotten some praise for what you've done, but somebody like yourself, or somebody like Amber Lyon, who had won all these Emmys at CNN, and was doing a great job, and then she found out the West just 2 years ago, or a year ago, was actually covering up and funding mass murders of men, women, and children at demonstrations in places in the Middle East. And then she found out her show had been bought out, basically $500,000 behind the scenes per episode, just to shut her down. Not only was CNN killing the story, they were demanding payouts from the governments of Bahrain and others to cover it up. And she left, a well-paying job. She's famous. She's, everywhere to stop that. You did the same thing, a managing director at Goldman Sachs over some key areas. Describe what you were over. And of course, I would do the same thing. I have refused to sell out to big media and things just because there's no future if you don't. But why is that so rare nowadays? Or is it just we don't know about all the people that did the right thing?
I think there's a little bit of both. I think there's a lot of people who choose to leave those types of positions and just not become public. Just go and do something else. I have friends who used to work at Goldman who are, helping orphans in Nicaragua. You know what I mean? There's certain people that just don't get out there publicly and talk about it, and then there's some people that do. And I think it's really hard. People get complacent, or they need the money, or whatever it might be, or they consider what they're doing not so bad. They're making a living, they're making a big living, they're making a ton of money, whatever it might be, and they don't tend to take a look at themselves, at the situation, at the overall impact of it, and they stay in these positions, or they leave. And it's really hard. When I first came out with my first book, Other People's Money, I was in London, and there was a reporter that was asked at the London Times Magazine whether I had worked there. And this question, apparently I found out later, went back to Hank Paulson in New York, and I don't know what happened in between him and the London office, but the London office denied I had even worked there for a second. And then, of course, they couldn't, because the news came out, and the reporter called me and said, "You worked here, right?" I'm like, "Yes, I worked there. Of course I did." But there's a lot of difficulties along the way in trying to talk about some very powerful institutions, powerful individuals, and also a lot of esoteric financial stuff that's not always easy to explain to people. And
it's a bunch of hocus pocus.
Yes, it's taking stuff, financial loans, whatever they may be, and repackaging them to make them look better, and throwing them on to someone else until the game is over. And the banks that created this stuff are fine, or they're bailed out, or they get to tax deduct losses and have all sorts of manners to protect themselves, whereas externally there aren't those same kinds of protections. And it's the same thing if you're inside of a system and you're trying to talk about it, whether you call it whistleblowing or explaining or creating knowledge or whatever you call it. It's very hard to go against that sometimes, and you have to be independent, I think, in order to do it a lot of the times. You have to decide, I'm not going to be part of that establishment. I'm not even going to necessarily, I don't believe it, and I'm not going to be part of it.
They call it buffers, or they call it plausible deniability. But what I've seen the UN and Goldman Sachs and all these globalists are really good at is they have committees, and they call things that are one thing another thing, and then they all act like they have plausible deniability to not know, so no one ever gets left with a hand grenade they're passing around the table. But then once they can't get in trouble, it creates this risk, this moral hazard they've talked about, where now they can get away with anything because it's all set up with a bunch of Sergeant Schultz saying, "I know nothing," when they know full well what they're doing. And then you look at it, it's going to bring down the society, and they're gearing up the FEMA camps and the armed troops all over the world, and British Ministry of Defense reports admitting this is going to end civilization as we know it. Because we'll never triage the debt. We'll never arrest these people. It's like you either cut them out or we all are destroyed, and the answer is you'll be destroyed. Is there any way out of the madness?
The thing is, these people are the system, and they've been the system. If you're running a major bank, if you're Jamie Dimon, or you're President Obama, you are inextricably, you're linked. You have an alliance. You can't let the other person fail. So if you're Obama and you're going into rise from state senate to president, you're Jamie Dimon. You're rising from the head of Bank One to the head of J.P. Morgan Chase to the most important banker right now in the country and arguably the world. You are together. You keep each other up, and all these other systems that are in place, whether it's the Federal Reserve, the New York Federal Reserve, the Department of Justice that ignores that anything can possibly.
That's how corruption works.
That's how it happens, right?
Because once they allow it in place, no one can bust anybody, or it brings it down, and then suddenly corruption just takes over.
Right, they are the same people, and it's mutually enforcing. It's enforcing within the banking industry on Wall Street, and it's enforcing between Washington and Wall Street. And what has happened since the crisis of 2008 is this ability to take down the economy, this massive amount of debt here in Europe, the instability in the Middle East, all of this is connected to the fact that there was a financial crisis that was predicated on bankers creating potential, fuzzy value out of nothing, proliferating the world with it, and then having the governments come in and hold their hand.
Absolutely. Naomi Prince, NaomiPrince.com. We got to go to break. When we come back, tell us now where we're at currently and where you see us going, because you've been so accurate predicting things. Her current best-selling book is It Takes a Pillage: Behind the Bonuses, Bailouts, and Backroom Deals from Washington to Wall Street. It's Naomi Prince, who is a managing director. I remember reading your first book about this in 2006. You were actually able to see all of it because in your position, weren't you like over the big international transfers and trying to make sure that the regulations meshed on these deals?
Yeah, that's a very good memory. I had been responsible for a particular group that focused on financial clients, insurance companies, banks, pension funds, and any basically financial investor, and try to look at how, if they were going to be seeing any losses, how those could be sort of repackaged and sold off of their books. And if a bank was going through a potential loss or an insurance company had some claims that weren't working, package them up, reconstruct them into something else, and sell them along to other investors. So there was a lot of that. And I was also responsible for the analytics in derivatives and credit derivatives, which became the center of all this stuff, and the nascent development of CDOs, which you talk about.
So you were right in the middle of it.
I was in the middle of it before it became subprime. It was corporate debt.
And you just watched Enron go to jail. That's the good part about people getting in trouble. It makes other people think. You said, I'm getting out of here.
Well, I left before them going to jail. I knew when they were imploding. I knew when their positions were imploding because Goldman was actually a trading partner in derivatives with Enron. So it was pretty easy to know what was going to go on. And that was around the fall, of course, of 9/11. And I wound up leaving for a number of reasons. 9/11 was a very personal issue for anyone who was working down on Wall Street at the time. And I was also an element of life's too short.
Oh, wow. You were in New York when that happened?
Yeah, I mean, I was down on Goldman when that happened, which is a few blocks away from the World Trade Center.
Wow.
We're there with the darkened windows, also not really knowing what's going on at that point. We're just inside a building before all the information started coming out. So as that came out, that was a big sort of call to examine all the things that I'd already been bothered about.
A major reality check.
Major. And I quit a few months after that. So there was all of that was going on at the same time. There was World Trade Center, there was 9/11, there was Enron's fraud, there was the upcoming telecom frauds that would all come out after I left. And a lot of that stuff going on, and also, I mean, the atmosphere was toxic. It always was, but it just became way too much.
When we hear these recordings of Goldman Sachs guys bragging about, I'm going to shake these old ladies. Oh, that earthquake, that was my wallet dropping. Yeah, we're going to sell these idiots this crud. I mean, how many of them are like that?
There are some loudmouths who are definitely like that, and then there's ones that are more reserved. There's the old school bankers, and there's the ones who have actually done quite well being like that. Going back to 9/11, when we were there on the trading floor, and there was all the smoke and stuff around, the oil guys were on the desk, and their boss was saying like, hey, make money. Like, we don't know what's going on. No one knows what's going on. But you know what? It had to do with the planes, oil money. Keep trading. And that's the kind of environment that a lot of those types of guys are very, very...
And then they're like, hey, just tell the firefighters that the dust isn't bad so we can stay open. And don't tell them to wear respirators because then they'll know it's bad. Then we'll have to close everything. Tell them it's safe. When they had a report hours after saying it's deadly. They had sensors. Again, it just shows these people are out of their minds.
They wanted us to all come down to work, the next day, 2 days later, when the city was mostly closed. I didn't come down. I mean, again, this was all sort of, part of my own combinations of revelations over the years. But yeah, there was people down in those offices.
Let me ask you this question. This is a short segment, long segment coming up, and then I want to get into whatever you think's most important to talk about. I mean, so tell me these questions aren't good or aren't as important as they should be. Where to go? Where does it all end? I mean, I look at the derivatives. Some numbers are 600 trillion, some are lower, some are higher. What is going to happen with all of this? Where does it end? Because they're only expanding all of it from what I've seen. Where does it end?
Right. The expansion happens from the fact that since the crisis, these banks that were big have gotten bigger. They've been allowed to merge. They've had federal backing. They continue to have federal backing. They know they can continue with creating bigger derivatives positions, taking more fees off their regular clients to be able to grow what they're doing in the speculative world and so forth. But what they know right now is that they will be supported So again, it's this mutual support system from the Federal Reserve and the ECB to keep the U.S. banks and the European banks, which basically control the entire global financial system, up as long as they can. So you create debt, you keep rates down low, you keep it going, you keep it going. Meanwhile, the derivatives positions, the more risky types of transactions in which these banks are operating, also continue to blow up because they're being supported. They've been bailed out. They're being supported to go on and go forward. I don't really think that ends. I think what's happening now is when there's this false period of, an anesthetic of these types of bailout programs and these zero interest rates, which are just going to kind of keep things in an indefinite limbo until the next shoe drops, which I believe will happen because this cannot continue forever.
And I want to talk about how big that next shoe will be, what's happening in the bond market, and so much more with Nomi Prinz. Straight ahead, she was a managing director at Goldman Sachs and left rather than be involved in all the corruption. Because there's a war on for your mind. That has been our motto here at InfoWars for my 18 years of battle against the globalists. And now we see the open announcements of global, private, corporate tyranny over our governments. That's what the New World Order is. It's an unaccountable private combine of organized crime engaged in corporate takeovers of nation states and the conscious attempt to abolish basic rights and fundamental liberties. Infowars.com is not just leading the charge against this here in the U.S. or North America. We are leading the charge worldwide. And that's because our listeners, our viewers, our supporters, fellow freedom lovers like you across the planet resonate with our message of liberty and telling it like it is. And that's why for the last 2 years especially, I have thrown everything I've got, my time, my energy, our backup capital, everything into really trying to awaken the sleeping giant that is humanity. And that's why the July issue that just came in a few days ago is so important. We've already sold about half the stock we have of it at cost in groups of 10 up to 100 in bulk. It covers the entire NSA spy grid, how it ties in worldwide, how it's not about stopping terrorism, but about suppressing and dominating and controlling the free press and political opposition. And in this magazine, we don't just have 3 free bumper stickers like I did a few months ago. We have 10 bumper stickers, 4 full-size ones with amazing messages guaranteed to get people thinking like America has been occupied by globalist forces. Infowars.com. Listen to Alex Jones at Infowars.com. Infowars.com. Forbidden information. Listen to Alex Jones. Infowars.com. And then on top of it, 6 medium-sized bumper stickers with the message as well. These are key to post in legal and lawful areas on your book bag, your computer, your car, or to give friends and family. I have printed 500,000 of these bumper stickers. Only half of this month's run of magazines has them. So when you purchase them in bulk or you're a 12-month subscriber, you will get the special issue. And I can't afford to do this every month, so it's going to be quite a while until we do this again. Please take advantage of this. Buy them in bulk and give them to your friends and family and encourage them to get these bumper stickers out, because with 500,000 stickers, we can reach tens of millions of people with the message of truth. They want to collectivize us. They want to bankrupt us. They want to drive us into their arms to control us. They want to dumb us down. But the sleeping giant that is for humanity is awakening. So I want to thank you all for your support. I want to encourage everybody to go to InfoWarsStore.com and to get a 12-month subscription or to give a gift subscription. Imagine 12 of these coming to your friends or family's door to wake them up. Or to give a gift subscription to the local police department or your local congressman or woman. This is how we're going to affect change, voting with our dollars and voting with our time. Again, visit InfoWarsStore.com today to subscribe, to get the magazine in bulk, or to get a gift subscription, or to give yourself a subscription to wake up friends and family. I am all in. I am committed 110% to not mince words and to not back off and to boldly confront the globalists. And our listeners and supporters are info warriors who aren't behind us, they're right beside us. So I want to thank all of you that have supported us in the past, and I want to encourage all of you out there who may be on the fence, that know this information is true, but have been scared to take action. You have better be scared of not taking action and letting this monstrous system come to fruition. Now is the time to commit. Now is the time to say which side of history you're on. Now is the time to stand against the globalist and the New World Order. And regardless of whether you get this July issue, this July 4th Resistance to Tyrants issue, spread the word about liberty, resist corruption in your area. Millions of us doing little things can move mountains together. I'm Alex Jones signing off for Infowars.com and the Infowars team. Her latest book. She's got another book coming out soon. We're going to talk about that. And I know we got callers that have been holding before she got on all over the map. We'll take your calls, a little bit of overdrive while she gets some lunch. And I'm going to interview her for Obama Deception too. So I'll be going into the third hour. Some of the days I seem to do all the time. You know, I quit doing 4 hours every day a few years ago because I needed to get ready for the nightly news and build the media operation. But then why not just go back to 4 hours? It's like I quit doing the 4 hours. Some stations quit carrying it. And now I'm back to doing 4 hours. But there's just so much to cover. But first, some of our sponsors that make this broadcast possible. PrivateInternetAccess.com. We hear news stories every day about NSA spying on U.S. citizens. Keeping your information private on the web has never been more important. PrivateInternetAccess.com specializes in keeping your information private by encrypting your internet connection, hiding your IP address so that you can browse the internet anonymously, offering firewall protection to prevent data mining, eliminating records of your computer activity. PrivateInternetAccess.com is an American company, and you can use this service anywhere in the internet connection in the world. Again, you can check it out right now at PrivateInternetAccess.com and a lot of other services. Great folks, PrivateInternetAccess.com. Also, InfidelBodyArmor.com. Unlike ceramic armor that only stops 6 rounds, this stops hundreds. Stops hundreds of rounds from AK-47, M4, 30-06, 308, and more. Fits sizes medium to XXL. They got a bunch of other products as well, backpacks, you name it. Amazing stuff, made in America. Rated to level 4 body armor, 888-608-6605. The longest lasting body armor is now cheaper than most ammo for the first time by the pound. InfidelBodyArmor.com. InfidelBodyArmor.com. And lastly, eFoodsDirect.com/Alex. This special ends tomorrow. They've never done a special like this. You buy 3 of any of their huge selections of storable foods, you get the 4th free plus free shipping. They rarely do free shipping, so that's a double whammy of goodness. And we do this because all of us should be prepared. All of us should hope for the best, prepare for the worst, have a strong offense against the globalists while preparing a defense in fallback positions. This is serious. The government's stockpiling food as well. The place to get it is eFoodsDirect.com/Alex or 800-409-5633, 800-409-5633. And don't forget all our other great products and videos and films and everything, InfoWarsStore.com. That's how we're building the people's media system in resistance to the globalists. Now, Nomi Prinz, again, former managing director at Goldman Sachs, NomiPrinz.com, best-selling author, whistleblower from the early 2000s, prolifically predicting, because I read the book in 2006 and said, I got to get this lady on. The first book she put out on the subject, and because she said everything that was going to happen, and as she said, she wrote the book 3 years before. I read it 2 years after it was out, and now she's got several other books that are out as well. But expanding, you were saying during the break, things about Obama I want to get to in a moment, but first off, Nomi, get into my big question. How do you expect things to unravel? How do the experts you respect and have a good track record of predicting things, how do they say the next shoe will drop and what it will look like? And what's happening in these rig markets? How long will it go as we learn about LIBOR and the fixing of interest rates and the fact that high-frequency trading, I mean, this thing is a giant rig casino ripping people off. How will it melt down? Will it melt down? And if it doesn't melt down, what will it do at the expense of the people?
Okay, first of all, this historic period right now, we have had a longer series of cheap money, of 0% interest rates, of the Federal Reserve, the ECB, bolstering all of the financial toxic assets that were built, the financial system that was being proliferated into the world, and how that was going to self-destruct. It continues to hold it up. The stock market is held up by this. The corporate profits of the companies that are larger and that are still posting corporate profits, although they're not really hiring, they are posting profits, are doing so because it is so cheap for them, not individuals, but for banks and for their main customers to raise money. This is why there's the appearance between the stock market and some of the corporate bond market that things are healthy. There's the appearance that banks are doing okay. They haven't had to, because of accounting laws that have been changed in 2008 when the financial crisis happened, that have allowed them to really camouflage losses that they continue to carry on their books. Meanwhile, they've expanded derivatives and all sorts of other esoteric things they're doing because it doesn't cost them anything to do that. That's the market we're in right now.
Synthetic derivatives?
Synthetic derivatives basically meaning creating packages of things that have no value. And the reason these packages of things that have no value, which were supposed to take a loan, a regular, simple, basic loan. Yeah, you pay me an interest rate. I take a piece of it. I pay my expenses. I make some profit. You do that a ton of times, and the loan has no value because the asset underneath it has gone to zero, and you create a derivative and another derivative, and you repackage and you're basically running on fumes. So
and then it's hidden under red tape.
It's hidden under accounting laws that are effectively designed to camouflage these losses so that they give the appearance that these banks are in a...
So where does it go? When does it end?
The Federal Reserve has been very tactical in keeping these rates at the zero levels that they are. And every single time Bernanke comes out and says the economy might be getting a little better, and there might be possibility that QE, quantitative easing, or the Fed buying the debt that is manufactured by banks and by the Treasury Department to keep this all going and keep rates low. Every time that happens, the market wobbles, everybody freaks out, and Bernanke comes back and says something like, oh, you know what, it actually kind of is bad, we're going to keep going with this, and then everything's all fine again, visually in the market and in the bond market. The reality is it's not real.